Hello, Mona.
Hello, Jeanette. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. I know the days are going by pretty quick. Is it me?
No, no. Last week went extremely fast, and I had something to do every day.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. It's fair week. Actually, tomorrow's the last day of the fair. And
Have you
uh,
enjoyed it?
Yeah, I have actually. We've had it's the Seedful Kids fundraiser. So
Yes.
we're there for 2 weeks raising funds. And the way that we raise funds is we sell honey at the fairgrounds in the garden center, which is in the Florida Center, I think it's called.
Yes.
But I got to tell you, it's been one of our best years yet.
Oh,
It's been
perfect.
really, yeah, it's
I
been
was
really
out there on
good.
Thursday, and we stopped by.
Yes, we
Of
saw
course,
your note.
it was closed down, but oh, we loved it. It was the setup was really, really nice.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So the team puts a lot of effort into it. And as I said, it's our big fundraiser for the year.
Hmm.
And we just did really well this year. They showed us the numbers preliminarily. And I was like, oh my, we're ahead of anywhere we've been before. But here's where the kids get to participate a lot. And they get to sell the honey, they get to talk, they get to do cooking demonstrations, all
Okay,
kinds of really cool things. So
so it's a
tomorrow's the last
win-win.
day. Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
win-win, and tomorrow's the last day, and gives us a chance to really see the kids outside of the school grounds, and they we get to see their personalities for real.
Sure,
I
sure.
mean, for real in some cases. It's like, come on now. so so
Oh, let them be.
anyway,
Let them. Let them be kids. We have to understand they're not going to all be,
not on
you
my
know,
time, no. Be
uh,
kids with
I
your
let,
mama.
let them be kids. Let them have some fun
Oh,
to to a,
well,
to, to a certain degree, of course. You know.
yeah, I had not been out in the fairgrounds for like 30 years. And then all of a sudden, every year for the last at least 6 or 7, I've been having to go to the fair because of the kids. And I
Yeah.
actually have to go, and the kids earn about $15 for the work that they do. And then they earn also $15 plus 2 rides. And then their parents can give them money. Then I have to walk them through the fair. We have an
Uh,
hour. They have to make decisions. They have to make choices. And I tell them, it's your money. You could save it, and I give them what their options are. So it's a real great opportunity to have real life learning
sure.
on making choices, especially in the glitzy fair. But it's
So
cool.
so
So
how many kids are out there with you guys?
we have about 4 or 5 at any one time, because yes, it's our fundraiser and we are raising money. And by the way, people, you can go online to our website, what we could be exchange, and order honey. It's there all year long, but for this particular week, it would go towards our fundraiser. So feel free to do that. And I'll put that in the chat at some point where you can
Yeah, I was
go
going to
and
say we need to
order.
put it in the description or the chat before we
Okay.
close out.
Yeah, we'll make sure we do it. We'll make sure we do it. But real quick, you guys, before we do the countdown, I just want to give you a quick teaser. This race isn't just about a candidate. Um, and we've got several races that are coming up. We did have a guest lined up tonight, but that was canceled. I think we announced it on our Facebook page, but we're going to reschedule that for some other time. But any race that we talk about will not just be about the candidates. Um, and the midterms, too, that are coming up aren't really going to be just about the party. Tonight, we're going to focus on you, the voter. All right. So we'll examine a major national infrastructure decision. Mona called me up and said, "Hey, you heard about the bridge?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't heard about the bridge, but I did a little research on it real quick." And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And um, then we're going to turn the camera back onto you, because for every decision, everything that's being done in the country, every candidate that runs, it's really on you, not them necessarily, but you. Because at the end of the day, every outcome traces back to one decision that you make. Did you vote or not? If you did, why did you vote? And what did that choice say about you? So stay with us for the next minute or two. We're going to do the countdown. Mona, I did not, and I don't know why we did not, I did not pull another Black national anthem. So I'm going to apologize to you, because I said I was going to do that. So tonight, you guys, we're going back to the countdown, and then we'll play the video.
Black independent, where we speak truth to power, unapologetically.
For too long, the black vote has been treated like a given, but we're not property, we're not pawns. We are the descendants of those who built this nation, and now we're demanding tangibles, not tokenism, because the era of blind loyalty is over. This is the Black Independent. Let's get to work.
Okay, Mona, let's get to work. Let's do what we do.
We have a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do, Jeanette.
We have a lot of work, but I will say this, and I probably say this often enough, but I can't tell you enough how I appreciate your commitment to this project that we're doing. And it's our opportunity to do the work in the way that we think it needs to be done. And that is to inform people. That's what we're doing, folks. We're not trying to do anything major except to make sure that the people who know us and those who don't are talking about issues that are important to Black folks.
Absolutely.
So I'm Jeanette, and I'm with my co-host Mona. Say hello, Mona.
Hello, Facebook and YouTube.
So tonight's episode, we're at number 55, and we have two things that we're going to focus on. I kind of touched on it in the teaser. One's a little national, and one is actually personal, actually. So first, we're going to examine the reported cancellation of a major U.S.-Canada bridge project and what that decision signals economically and politically. And let me tell you, Black folks, these decisions that the current administration is making is really going to hit us in our back pockets. So these are things that we ought to pay attention to. It seems like we have nothing to do. It has nothing to do with us, but actually it does. And then in segment 2, we're going to shift the lens directly to you, the voter. I don't think we talk enough about the voters. So we're going to examine voting behavior, the rise of independence as a political entity or identity, the new challenges on the horizon, and why the midterm outcomes are ultimately determined not by the candidates, but by your participation. And I want to make this personal. I'm not going to say you. We're talking about you and the circle of people around you. So this is not a partisan episode tonight. It's a civic one. So tonight we're going to ask two simple questions. Who are you aligned with? And will you and the people in your circles show up in November? I don't know. Back to you, Mona.
The answer to your question, as we see how things are laying out, how things are moving forward, not always in the best interest of the people, and particularly ADOS community? The
Mm-hmm.
answer has to be affirmative yes. It just has to be a yes. Otherwise, we're all doomed. But Jeanette, our first topic tonight, I want to ask you how
Sorry
was
about
the bridge?
Can you believe one of my students, fourth
Just
grader, is trying to call me right now? Okay. So what are we going to talk about tonight?
we're going to talk about the U.S. and the Canadian bridge decision. And
Okay, what most of us don't know what the decision is. I didn't until you brought it to my attention today.
I look, I didn't either. My brother sent me a video first thing this morning, and I was like, I knew this bridge was happening because it's been it's been going on now for a couple of years. Okay, so gee, I didn't really think, but we have to know that everything is political, right? Everything is political.
Everything is political.
Everything, and particularly with this president, he wants to be
Everything.
he wants to be loved. He wants to be the big man. You could tell he's a beta man. It's so pitiful that he's not the alpha man that he wants his. I was going to call his people deplorables, but we'll just say his constituents to believe. These
Right.
these small-minded people who thought he was such a great deal maker,
Mm-hmm.
and he is going to destroy even more. Um, the bridge is called the Gordie Howe Bridge, and it's a huge deal. So
It is a
last,
huge deal, but I don't think a lot of folks really know what I've never heard of the bridge, to tell you the truth. And I understand why your brother sent it to you, because he lives in where? Michigan.
he lives in Michigan, yes.
And this is a Michigan thing that connects Michigan and Canada from a trade perspective. So, do you mind if we play a little bit about what this is and what it means to the United States?
Yes, let's play the video.
Okay, let me make sure that I maneuver and pull this up. Share screen. Okay, I got it. Folks, I
The Howe Bridge is the longest cable stay bridge in North America. So it's really a leap into a world-class cable stay bridge. The Detroit-Windsor crossing is one of the busiest commercial crossings in North America. Trade is very important to the US-Canada relationship. With only one commercial crossing in between Detroit and Windsor, having that dependability, reliability, and redundancy was very important. Parsons has been involved in one way or another for over 20 years on this bridge. The Gordie Howe Bridge was designed and constructed under a public-private partnership style contract, and Parsons has been at the forefront of many P3 projects. The public-private partnership model really brings to bear the ability to fund a project both in the short term to get it constructed, as well as to make sure there's a dedicated revenue stream for operations and maintenance. Parsons, along with our client, Windsor Detroit Bridge Authority, Michigan Department of Transportation, and other agencies, worked really hard to make sure that this project was a benefit to the community. They have incorporated a community benefits program into the project. The scale of it is amazing.
Wow.
It sounds like there's a lot of thought into this bridge. There was a lot of thinking that went into the bridge on both sides in terms of Canada, Windsor, Canada, and Detroit, Michigan. And they figured out how it was going to work. So everything seemed to be ironed out.
Right. and you have to understand how these things work. So, like they said, this has been in the workings for almost 20 years. So
You got to be.
it wasn't even orchestrated under Trump. How in the world do you just say, "Hey, we're gonna cancel this"? You can't
Okay.
do that.
All
But
right.
you
So,
would get the credit. You would be there for the ribbon cutting. It is almost when we think about Riverfront Park, right? Riverwalk, the Riverwalk. Well, the Riverwalk was really done how it was really put together. Probably was under Sandy Freeman, I believe.
okay.
And then a little bit under Bob Buckhorn, but it came to the ribbon cutting and all of that under Jane Castle. But each person continued it on. Yes. And this guy just, I don't know. He has lost every deal he had. He has screwed every business he had, and he has been to screw the biggest business, America. It is unbelievable if they allow him to do that. But last evening the news broke that a major U.S.-Canada bridge was initially canceled, and I believe it was said that one of his friends who owned the Ambassador Bridge that they're using now didn't want the deal to go through, and I'm sure some undercover stuff was here. He probably paid him off. I don't know, but I do believe that it's going to go forward. It is that he is trying to grab the guy with all of these unrealistic demands that he wants.
So I found another video that talks about what I think you're talking about in terms of Trump blocking this bridge. After all of the work, he's blocking the bridge. And I got to wonder, why is he doing that at this point? And given his thinking, as we are learning how he thinks, it has to have something to do with his cronies. That's my thinking.
Oh, shit.
All right. So let me pull this video in so that it gives the audience a little context about what we are possibly dealing with regard to this particular bridge. Let's see, Trump blocks. Okay, did I pull that in?
Yep.
All right. Okay, here we go.
All for answers following a reported meeting between the owner of the Ambassador Bridge and U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, a meeting that the New York Times reports happened just before Donald Trump took to Truth Social to say he will block the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. CTV's Travis Fortnum joining me now. And Travis, so what are the lawmakers trying to find out, and how could this ultimately affect Windsor?
Yes, well, this is all about whether private business interests influenced a major cross-border decision. And a California congressman on the U.S. House Oversight Committee is now demanding records tied to that reported meeting, wanting to know if it influenced Trump's threat. It was the New York Times who first reported earlier this week that Trump's post to Truth Social followed a meeting between Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Matthew Maroon, whose family owns the Ambassador Bridge. Congressman Robert Garcia is now calling for emails, texts, and calendar records tied to that meeting, arguing it's unacceptable for a politically connected billionaire to influence trade policy. The Maroon family has long opposed the Gordie Howe Bridge, which would end its monopoly on commercial truck traffic at the busiest border crossing in North America. Garcia warns interference could increase congestion and disrupt U.S.-Canada trade. Speaking on AM 800, Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib saying, in her opinion, this is just par for the course.
Billionaire corruption goes hand in hand with the White House right now. So it wasn't a surprise to me that Matthew Maroon, the owner of the opposite, literally falling apart Ambassador Bridge, met with Trump administration hours before the president absurdly threatened to block the safer and more efficient Gordie Howe Bridge from opening. The Maroons have always taken this approach of donating to colleagues, both Democrats and Republicans in the United States, in a way that makes them look the other way when it comes to their lawlessness, them not following various permit process and things of that nature.
As those questions are investigated, Michigan law.
So Jeanette, that's going to take me down another rabbit hole because I heard the name Lutnick, and I got to look it up before I even say, but I think his name was in the Epstein files.
It is. You don't even have to look it up. I'm going to tell you.
Okay,
Lutnick
my antennas went up, and I was like, oh my God, these people. And we know that anything they're doing right now, the question has to be who benefits and who will absorb the cost of this, because Canada paid for all of the calls up front.
And the cost is $4.7 billion paid for by Canada.
But the biggest cost, what I don't think we understand, who will hurt the most is the people in Michigan.
That's true.
And the surrounding states. Ohio will hurt because we understand that a lot of trade from that bridge goes there, energy, gas, all of this stuff. And, all of Trump's supporters, you're already complaining. You don't have jobs. I mean, it is just going to be a mess. And I believe it's going to eventually open, but the delaying it is still going to hurt because it says millions of dollars traveling through there every week.
It will, but it's following a pattern that Trump has with everyone. He is looking for a complete win-lose relationship. And right now, the deal is a win-win for both sides, for Canada and for the United States. But Trump has decided he wanted to have a win-lose, especially since the Ambassador Bridge that is breaking down, that is not going to be able to accommodate the level of trade between the two nations. He has decided that he wants to protect and take care of his friend. So he is blocking this bridge.
I don't think he's just doing it for anything. We have to follow the money. It is some money being transferred. Trump isn't doing anything just for his friends. He doesn't really have friends.
Oh, he doesn't?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Not in the true sense of friend. You have associates.
But why?
And everything is based off of money. And if this Nutnick guy, I just think I saw something, how many billions of dollars he is worth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're paying him to either slow it down, because I don't believe that they could cancel the whole thing. They could slow it down. They could slow walk it. But cancel it, because they eventually know that it has to be done. And even Republicans,
because it has to be done, but it's too far gone. But just like a petulant little 2-year-old who knows that if I hold my nose long enough and threaten to kill myself, my parents are going to give me what I want. And this is not generally in a Black family. This is usually
I was going to say that's a white family, because we would say just go and kill your goddamn self, but you better not mess up the floor. My mother used to say that to us all the time.
So Trump is holding his nose, and he's going to say, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself until somebody cries uncle and he gets what he wants. And that is what we're going through.
I hope this guy has some types of balls and stand 10 toes down and say, we're not moving. we're not giving in and we're not negotiating.
That's correct.
We're not doing it. And I mean, like,
Yeah.
because we have allowed, even when I heard of it, I said, hey, just here in Tampa, I Canadian. Tico is owned by Canadian. You know, we sell everything. We don't want to do. I mean,
didn't know.
yeah, Tico got bought out.
Okay, I didn't know that. So we're dropping gems tonight. I'm just serious.
Yeah, and that's why I don't understand how they keep allowing them to keep all these increases since and I can't remember when it was, but I think my daughter was still in high school. So I have a little bit of stock with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when it was bought.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you would know having stock with them, but folks, we're talking about interruptions in supply chains. So if it goes on too long, if Trump does not get what he wants, that's the bottom line. And what I like about Canada, you know, everybody's saying Canada is these are our nice neighbors. They're so nice to everyone, blah, blah, blah. Well, they now have Carney, a new CEO or prime minister, who absolutely is saying, F Trump, F the United States. And he's not giving Trump what Trump wants. And that is driving Trump absolutely nuts. But supply chains, if something happens and you can't get something that you want, because we get a lot, our trade relationship with Canada is the largest trade relationship in the world. So we absolutely need to understand that if there is interruption, it's the Trump administration. It has nothing to do with Canada. It has nothing to do with maybe the businesses that you might blame. It has to do with Trump administration decision-making around blocking this bridge and not allowing it to I guess complete on schedule.
So the first thing I thought about was the automotive industry inside of Detroit. Okay, and the amount of money during Obama when we had the crash that he wanted to bail the banks and the car industry out, right?
Right.
All that money will be wasted because if he canceled this deal, that is going to mess with all of those people, all of General Motors. That is one huge segment that will be, really messed up.
But Trump knows this. He knows that there's a lot at risk, and that's
why I believe the people that owns these companies aren't going to allow this to happen.
Okay, but remember, I'm going back to that petulant little 2-year-old or 4-year-old in a store. They wait till they get in the store to the cash register, and then they want to pull a tantrum on a parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wait till they have this great big audience, and so the parent is feeling embarrassed and under stress, so they grab the bubble gum and give it to the child to go out into the. That is what Trump is doing. He's always doing that. He does it time and time again. It is becoming very old. It is becoming very expensive. And it is something that the American people need to begin paying attention to right now. When he does that, I don't understand it, but my phone is going off the hook tonight. But it is something that definitely the American people, they need to look at it and see it and call it for what it is. Because when you go to the ballot box, folks, you need to know why it is that your life is not improving. And these are reasons why. Because he wants to help out his friend who owns the Ambassador Bridge, which the Gordie Howe Bridge is actually somewhat replacing, right?
Yes. Yes. So what you just said, something just struck a chord with me. I'm seeing a pattern here, and people, particularly Republicans, have to see this. So after President Bush 2, how he screwed the country up, Obama had to come back in and save it.
Right.
Not save the people in particular, but save the system, right?
Yes.
Trump is going to destroy the country once again, and it's going to be a Democrat. Now, of course, when these presidents destroy the country as they do, they don't only destroy the country, it destroys the working poor, the middle class, and it takes us years to build back up. We got to stop playing that game, because this is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. It is exactly, but the key is this time, this time, unlike all the other times, the American people can see. And people like us and all the podcasts that are noticing that typically we can't see are taking our time out, even local podcasts that go national. We are talking to our neighbors and our friends, and we are trying to get people informed so that they know what they are experiencing is attributed to the person that's in the White House this time. Because construction and labor markets, I mean, that bridge is pulling in construction workers from Canada and the United States.
Yeah.
It is fueling the labor market, right? Federal and state, they're coordinating. All of these things are at play. Trump knows it's a big risk, and the bigger the risk, the more likely he is to stand in the way to say, give me what I want or risk it all. That is what he is doing. Give me what I want for my friend over here, who, as you say, is going to pay out big for me.
Yeah.
Give me what I want or risk losing. What is it I said? 4.7 billion US dollars. That's 6.4 Canadian dollars, but 4.7 billion. And he knows that the American people or the representatives are not going to want to do that. But Carney, Prime Minister Carney, is the unknown card here and has not played the game with Trump since he walked into office. And I applaud that.
Well, here's where we're going to have to go, and we could talk about it on the second half as voters, where we're going to have to demand the next president not really come in and save the system and screw the people.
Yeah.
As Barack was told that he had to do, President Obama. I don't mean to call it president. When the housing crisis, they were helping save the people, keep their homes. He bailed out everybody but the people. And we're gonna have to say we can't do it, because I do feel like it's gonna be pretty much a 2008 before Trump get out of here, a repeat. And the next president, which probably will be a Democrat, cannot come in and do the same thing.
Okay, but here's the deal, and here's what I think we're learning, and we kind of talked about this in a previous podcast. The president is a figurehead.
I know.
And it is the people that surround him that put him there. He's not necessarily choosing his cabinet. He's not necessarily figuring out exactly what that strategy is going to be. He's going to get some of what he wants, very little. It is going to be dictated by the powers that be. And then, even then, I think that since we've learned about the Epstein class, there's a power over that power. So I'm saying for President Barack Obama, who, as you said, bailed out big business and left a lot of homeowners and folks really out to dry. It was that administration's choice to take care of the institutions and the systems and the big business and whatever else, and for the little people to fend for themselves. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of people
So do
lost
you
homes.
think,
It was
do you think
the
the
Great
power to be,
Recession. They're not
do you
people
think the power to
oriented,
be,
huh?
do you think the power to be is allowing Trump to make this deal?
Okay, I'm going to say that that's how it functioned until Trump. Until Trump.
Right,
All right. Because
right.
Trump, while he
Because
doesn't
they
make
allowed
all of the
you
decisions,
up.
okay, but Trump
It's
doesn't make,
hold on. Hold on for a minute, then you can explain. Listen, because what I
okay.
have learned is all of the billionaires, they go from the Democrat to the Republican, the majority of them, right? Because
Mhm.
most of these people who are supporting Trump were supporting Obama. Okay, so
Mhm.
their only interest in power and who's in power and where that pendulum is swinging, and they felt like they should have got on the Republican side. Now, when they see the pendulum swing back to the left, they're going to be on the Democratic side. I'm saying what the people got to say is we don't care about the power anymore. They allow this to happen. They allow him to destroy the country like it's about to happen. Then
Yeah.
we're not going to eat that cost. The people can't eat the cost again. Not
Right.
in the same generation. Not no, we can't eat it.
Yeah. So our goal is that the people, as we will talk about later, will become more informed voters, and that they will
Mhm.
pay attention to what is happening. We have not necessarily had that in previous um, elections and previous administrations. They got away with a lot. And the only reason that we can actually see, and I've heard Albert say this, but I've heard several other people say it as well. Albert Phil's folks, who's been a previous guest with us. Thank God for Trump.
Thank God
Why?
for why.
Because he doesn't know how to hide things in the
Right,
background.
right,
He
right.
puts it out there for us to look at and
Yes.
study and says, that ain't right. But he's really not doing anything different than previous administrations, whether they were Republican or Democrat. And we need to look at it. What he is doing is he's doing it out front, which is what MAGA says. I just like how honest he is. Well, honesty is in the eye of the beholder here, because while we know that he lies incessantly, we also know that I'm going back to the petulant 2-year-old, right? Who doesn't know how to, you know how, I think my little sister did this. She's not little anymore. We're well into our 50s and 60s, but she went into the store and the fat lady's going down the hill and she goes, "Hey, Ma, look at that fat lady," right? We knew as teenagers or whatever that, oh no, you can look at it, you can think it, but you cannot say it. Trump
Out
is
loud.
that
Yes.
2-year-old that says the
Yes.
truth no matter what, out loud. And so
Mhm.
now we all
Mhm.
can see and experience how our government actually works or doesn't work.
He have his he's definitely have exposed us. Now, if they were able to keep half of what he have exposed, we would still be operating in the blind. But now
Mhm.
we realize people are woke. People are
Right,
waking up.
right.
And
Because
some are
Trump
just,
has,
yes,
right.
he has
Trump
messed
has
it up for
one
all of
way of,
it.
right. Trump has one way of operating, and that is to take care of his and his
Yes,
people and his own. And he'll
yes,
do it in your face while he is screwing you with your own money, taxpayers,
yeah.
right? Right. And it's right there out in the open. And people don't really know how to deal with that. So he is saying, my friend over here owns the Ambassador Bridge, who has been serving, Canada and Windsor in Canada and Detroit for years. And while it's a broken down bridge, or it's on the verge of being, and they're kind of anticipating with this other bridge, if that bridge opens, it's going to hurt my friends. And just like in the Epstein files, I don't want to hurt my friends. And I'm the president, so I can protect my friends. So anyway, I think that's what we're seeing at this point. And it is going to hurt a lot of little people, construction workers.
It's going to hurt the workers. It's going to hurt the workers. It's going to hurt the working class people.
Right. Yeah. If he's able to get away with it and put a stop to or a major delay on this particular project, it needs to continue. And Congress needs to have the balls, to sit the petulant child aside and continue this 4.7 billion project that we're not even paying for. And so
we're not even paying for.
Right. But he's making demands that in terms of the revenue that's generated as a result, he wants half. I want half. Think of me.
Even his
I want the proceeds. I want the whatever. I want this. I want that. That is what he is now. He's making demands on Canada and this project that he didn't like the original deal, and he wants more. Because as usual, he's saying the United States. Thank you, Bad Bunny, for letting me know that Canada is a part of the American continent as well.
Part of America, yes.
Right. So the United States wants more, right? Mm-hmm. So he's going to hold his nose and just say, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself until somebody says, no, you don't have to do that. You know how parents are, or those parents are with their children. That's what we're doing.
I hope Prime Minister Connie say, kill yourself. I'm not budging.
All right.
Now he's gonna eat a little bit of it, but the deal will go through. He has to be able to play the long game as well. That's just the bottom line. Because that deal has to be made.
Okay.
And I think it's enough people in the Senate who realize that, Republicans.
True. And perhaps they are getting a little bit more brave. Well, maybe they're getting a little braver the closer we get to the midterms. And it feels like Trump's stock is falling. And I think personally that this has been the plan all along, that the closer they got to the midterms, they would kind of dump Trump. And because Trump is exactly as I've described him, they know that. And the transaction that was made during the campaign, he has pretty much fulfilled his part of the bargain almost. They are fulfilled theirs. He's out of, they're keeping him out of prison. He's making billions. And he's now going to become the crypto king, and he's going to be able to be in charge of what happens to Gaza in perpetuity for as long as he wants. If he's able to get his part of the transactional deal, he then will allow himself to be impeached, or Article 25, fifth. I don't know how I would say that otherwise, and everybody's happy. Because he doesn't have to go to prison, and he and his family are billionaires 50 times over, because they've got properties now all over the world in all of the countries that it's just an amazing thing to watch, and to say that white America has allowed this to occur based on what they call democracy, right? And a constitution that allowed him to screw it around in such a way that he is making out like a bandit on the tax.
This is why we can't allow these people to dictate to us our morals, our values. We just can't. People
We have to
who
stop doing it. We have to
people,
stop allowing
people
it.
who are soulless, who have no morals, no characters, and they want to talk to us about that.
We have to stop allowing it because we have always allowed them to dictate morality and what a character, what's a good, great character. All of these things that they put on the rest of us, including their own people, the working class. Same thing. They used the working class, but they also were putting the same moral kind of chains I'm going to put on them as well. We just have to stop. It's time to stop. So,
Well, that's a little bit. We'll keep the community update as we find out more.
absolutely. So, folks, infrastructure decisions are rarely abstract, right? You usually you can draw the lines and see exactly what's what. They affect contracts and jobs and supply chains and regional economies. And ultimately, they reflect policy priorities chosen by elected officials, which brings us back to the central theme of tonight's episode. Who puts these officials in office? How do they get there? Right? How are we responsible enough as voters to make sure that we are choosing people who really represent, okay, I was going to say represent us, but that's an interesting way to say it, but who truly will do right by the people in the United States. And that said, that brings us to the next segment.
Let me ask you a question before we go to the next question, because something you said. My question would be: are we really putting the people in office? Is it really the people who are electing the candidates? Are we the ones really electing the candidates, or is it the people with money?
Thank you for that question, as people say when they're trying to buy time to figure out what to say. That's a really good question, and Congress has passed laws in the past, and I'm trying to come up with what the law has been that has allowed big money to interfere in our elections in such a way. That's a good question.
I'll say the most recent candidate that I think that the people might have voted for was Madani in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Because generally, whoever they get behind is who wins. And we know it doesn't benefit the people. So the people can elect our officials moving forward. It's just that we haven't. We believe in whoever have the money, whoever is pushing the propaganda out, whoever giving us any of the all of the ads and everything is what we go with. And generally we go with what is safe, who we know, name recognition.
Yeah.
Which we know that those people are bought and paid for, which we should understand by now that these people are bought and paid for.
Okay. You make a good point on the Mamdani, but that is also true for, I think, a recent congressman that replaced Mikey Sherrill. I think her name is Mikey Sherrill. That's the new governor of New Jersey. Her seat was open in Congress, and another Democrat socialist. Yeah, another Democrat socialist won that seat and is on her way to Congress. So yeah, there is a shift. Yes. Say it again.
It's a few out there, and we have to be mindful of that.
I think so, that it can be done, even for those who say, Jasmine Crockett, she can't win, blah, 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 blah. Well, Democrat socialists what's his name, the Bernie types, right,
Mhm.
are winning
Mhm.
in some really key states. And I think that we need to understand that the tried and true sometimes is not the right choice for us. We have to recognize that. We need to recognize that and be brave enough to vote for to vote in our interests,
Absolutely.
because Mondami, those people voted in their interest and, excuse me, pissed off a whole lot of people with money and
Yes.
politicians and Democrats, pissed them off royally. And Mondami is doing that thing right now in New York. And every time he does something, I'm like posting saying, see what happens when you vote for yourselves? You actually get what you voted for.
Well, I'm
So
glad to hear that because we was having a discussion over the weekend, and someone said that he was already reverting, and it's like, yeah, I haven't heard that, but
no,
we need to do an update. You're saying he is sticking to what he said.
he's sticking to what he says. Now, understanding that he's sticking to what he's saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
That will not be 100%,
Oh, sure.
right?
Sure.
And people need to understand that if you don't, if you know, if I'm a kid and I said to my mom, here's my Christmas list, and if I don't get, and I give her 10 things and I only get 8 things on that list or 6 things on that list, I've done pretty darn good.
You've done excellent.
I'm not going to beat up my mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I haven't beat up my mom through the years when I would say, well, dang, mom, where's my da 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 da?
And look, if you gave a list of 10 and you got 5, it's 50-50.
That's pretty darn
But
good.
generally, we haven't gotten any damn thing lately.
Right. So be careful who you're measuring Mondani's performance with, because even Trump cannot deliver to the MAGA on the level that he promised.
Oh, no, yeah.
And they are pretty pissed about it.
And they're very pissed. I mean, the gropers are all upset. I don't think he's going to do 10% because he was there to make them feel good. He always knew that he wasn't going to do any of it.
He always knew that. He's only doing what he absolutely has to do because he's more interested in satisfying 100%, satisfying himself and those people who put him there. And those are the men who wrote those billion-dollar checks. So that's why you see Venezuela. That's why you see what happened there, because that was for one of those billion-dollar checks that he wrote. That's why you see even the talks of Greenland and whatever else. You can bet those are something to do with the billion-dollar checks that he wrote and the promises that he made to the billionaires. Right? He did say it. You guys will give me $1 billion.
This man know nothing about politics. He didn't have any concerns with Greenland. So he is doing the bidding of Project 2025.
Right. So everything that he does is to repay somebody or some organization that is it's all transactional. Everybody knows Trump is transactional. And why do you think that he is not making good on those deals that he made to get elected? And why was it important for him to be elected? Why was it important for him to be elected?
Get Project 2025 pushed.
But why was it extremely important that that man be president again? And it had everything to do with Jack Smith coming after him with a sure case to put his ass in jail. That's it. That was it.
I don't know, but I'm gonna have to give the Democrats a D on that because they had 4 years to do that. You trying to tell me you couldn't do that?
I'm not fighting you on that assessment.
Okay.
I'm not fighting you on that assessment. I think that you are
that's
right.
Why when he go after them, I don't have any feelings one way or the other, because you guys, I don't see how you couldn't get that done.
Yeah, that's one of the things that disappoints me about the Democrats as well, is their inability to, in 4 years, indict this man. But in addition to that,
Would you call it inability or weakness?
all right, same thing to me. It's like,
Inability means they couldn't do it.
and
Weakness is it was afraid to do it.
yeah, I don't know. It may
Of
have
course,
been.
of course they could have done it.
But if you think about it, though, if you think about this new class, this new classification that has emerged, the Epstein class, if you think about the Epstein class, which is on both sides of that same coin, right? Democrats and Republicans,
Think he
it
had something on it?
it was very important to them that Kamala Harris, for example, not be president. Because now you got a black woman, even though she's not ADOS per se, you got a black woman who is not a part of that Epstein class and probably cannot be bought. I don't think that I don't know about her APAC affiliation in terms of funds or what have you, but black women surrounding Kamala Harris was not going to allow that kind of mess. And the Epstein class knows that and knew that. So all of them were very invested in Trump winning that seat. So it was easy for them to write that $1 billion check. That's what I think. I think the more that we learn, we really absolutely have to tie in for every decision that is made. How is this being influenced by the Epstein class? You know, if one of us, I mean, Mamdani, you see how all of them there was so much hate coming at him, and the politicians who are on the APAC list of folks that get donations from APAC. They were not on board with Mamdani. Follow the money, like you like to say. Follow the money, right?
Yeah.
The Epstein class is very real, and I think has something to do with most of the decisions, if not all, that are made in this country. And every once in a while, the people win. You mentioned Mamdani, but that was also true for Barack Obama. And that's why they had to circle down and make sure Barack Obama couldn't really move in the way that he needed to move. And he learned that, I think, once he got in there.
So I wouldn't put Obama in a category that we're looking that
Mamdani
is. I see him as a disruptor, and that is what we need moving forward. Obama fell in line with the politicians. He became a politician. He was a politician. He was a traditional politician. Obama.
I'm just feeling like, I think Obama, for me, having been in corporate America, Obama got in there and people in corporate America at the very, very high levels really understand this whole play a loan to get my check and go home and do whatever else. And to do that, I'm having to sort of meld myself into, when I started wearing my hair in that page, remember they used to do that rap?
Yeah.
They used to do that rap. Well, I'm going to do that rap too. And I did it. And then when I was wearing those padded shoulders, and I was wearing Ann Taylor and Brooks Brothers, all of that.
Yeah.
And then one day I said, well, I'll be darned. I'm working way too hard to look like them.
I have conformed.
And my dad was mad when I cut all my hair off and started wearing a very short fro as an executive. And I was like, I'm getting up in the morning extra early to do my hair. And I said, I got to stop doing that. And that was some 25 or so years ago that I just said, I got to stop doing that. That I don't feel authentic me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that when I think about Barack Obama in that role, and with a Michelle Obama being the sister that I feel like she is, that you get this realization when you're on the inside and the top levels that, well, dang, I'm either going to be here or I'm going to have to leave. But this is what I actually did in corporate America. I drew my line in the sand, right? I could not cross that line. And when I felt that I was too close and about to cross the line and just become them, I went into my boss's office, the CFO at the time, and I said, I'm going to go work on this project over here for the next 2 years. And then I need you to I'm not coming back to the position. Go ahead and fill it. I'm leaving, but I'm going to leave after I implement SAP in several countries. And I said, I will not be back, because the game on the inside at the top is not the game the way we play it. We do not play that way. But people have to draw the line, right? So I get it. I get it when you get on the inside and that need to play the game. And I watch people play it all the time. When I see some of it, and I'm not calling any names, but even in these nonprofits at the top, I know the game you have to play. I get it. I don't appreciate that we do. Go ahead.
I like to call it how much of our soul we have to sell.
Yes.
That we can live with. That we can live with. Some people can sell their whole soul and live with.
That's the line. You gotta put the line down there. You gotta put the line.
Apparently you had a conscience, you had morals, and you said, I can't live with myself and continue to do this.
Yeah, you have to draw the line, or you will definitely lose yourself, and you will become them, and you'll make all kind of excuses as to why this, why that. I used to drive around in a Jaguar. I know. I used to travel. My vacations was like Hong Kong and whatever. I decided, not me. This is not what I want in my life. I didn't feel it.
And are you happy? Are you truly happy? Were you truly happy?
No. I used to ask my boyfriend at the time. I would say, we'd be driving around. We were driving around and I would say, are we happy? Are we happy? And we would travel and do all kinds of stuff. And I would just say, I'm not sure that I'm happy. So I had to leave because I felt like there was more that I could do.
It has to be something bigger than money. It has to be something bigger than money. And I talk about that all the time. Are you happy? Are you content?
Yeah.
Money, everybody got money. We could see the people in the Epstein. Those people aren't happy. They got everything. They have everything and they're not happy.
They're so unhappy that they are ruining other people's lives.
Yes.
Children.
Yes.
They are ruining other people's lives with all of that unhappiness. Right.
And when we really break this open, this other society, this secret society, this future America that these people want to create, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
It just isn't gonna happen. So we know I don't believe in all this heaven and hell, but if it is, it will be spending eternity.
If it is, so I like to say that yes, we can talk about politicians and we can talk about the now Epstein class, and we can talk about rich people, wealthy people, billionaires, however you want to classify them, but it's really about you, and it has always been about you, the voter. And I think that those people that I spoke about at the top spend a whole lot of time and money trying to convince you that it is not about you. And that's where, Mona, I think they're able to rip elections out of our grips, because they're able to hit the airwaves as such, it's with such intensity, those politicians that they give the money to, that they're able to tell us lies and make us think something that is not so and not true. And that's how they steal elections.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I can agree with that, but
I'm just kidding.
how but how are we going to move the people different?
Well, you said it. They moved different in New York. They moved different in New Jersey.
Mhm.
They moved different, even though the rich people poured in that cash to those to Adams and dang, I forgot his name, Cuomo,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Poured the
Because
money in like crazy, but the people moved different. How? How? How?
because
Somebody tell me.
when we think about our local elections, right? Just here in
Mhm.
the state of Florida, and then even when you trickle down to Tampa, I don't think we ever should have an election and a candidate run unopposed. I just, because no candidate is doing that great, unless they are really doing that great, that they can
Yeah,
run
but
unopposed, that the people, that the community want to see them
but
run again.
the community has to wake up. The community has to participate. The
But the community,
community has to stop just allowing things to happen without some say so. And
without a fight,
we traditionally have done that.
yeah,
Not
without a fight, because I don't think they believe that we could do it. That candidate has that much power, but no candidate has more power than the people.
except if the candidate, the people are so divided, and more so today than ever, but the people are so divided, and that's intentional, and that's by design. We've already talked about in the late 1700s, Bacon's rebellion, when the rich said, you know what, I don't want those folks down at the bottom revolting against me. I'm going to divide them, and I'm going to divide them based on their color. Black people are going to be slaves, and the other folks, they're not going to be too much more, but we're going to make them a little bit better so that they're the ones that can be the shopkeepers and whatever else. But those Black folks, they're going to be slaves, and we're going to tell them that you're like me, and someday, to the white man, you can be us, but the Black man could never be us. And to this very day, that works. So the people, we are having trouble figuring out that we have more in common than we have different, because
Yeah.
white people believe they have more in common with those people at the top, and Black people are over here. I mean, the lowest white man believes he is better than even Oprah, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that's a tall order to get us all on the same page, where the wealthy, I'm just going to call them the Epstein class, isn't pouring money into those politicians to keep us divided. But it happened in New York. But it happened in New York. And that's what you keep saying. That's what you say. And that now I believe you are absolutely right. it has happened very recently in New York and, as I mentioned, New Jersey.
And we have to do it. But you know what's amazing? That white America, and you also seeing Hispanic American believe in that BS in 2026, particularly after what we just came off. You could even look at the Super Bowl when Trump said, "Oh, that was the worst Super Bowl that he had ever seen." And I'm like, what type of self-respecting Italian or any immigrant would still align themselves with this man and these people? Even Megyn Kelly, I don't think she really believes that. I think she has to say that to stay relevant.
But Trump doesn't believe in everything that he says either.
He doesn't believe it either. And this is
Exactly.
why I don't. This is why I don't understand how the Republicans, because I saw this meme on, and I think I saw it today. I was going to try to pull it at his home in La Margo, that they were doing some kind of remember how they used to go to the zoo and had black humans as the exhibits? White people.
I am aware that this is the case.
So
yes.
they were doing something like that, making fun at Hispanics at Mar-a-Lago in 2026, and the people in the audience just sitting there, and even the Hispanics sitting there laughing at it. Like, nowhere in hell, maybe Tim Scott now will do it, where we could be somewhere and they decide to do a white joke or a black face, and black people in the audience, and we're just going to sit there and bear through it. No, we're going to stop it.
Yeah. I think that the last election, and here's the results that are there by gender and by race, tells the story. It really tells the story. And this one, I think, should go down in history because it's the one that brought in Trump for a second term. And I think these voters, especially in the red, are influenced by the rich, wealthy, white class, or the Epstein class. I'm going to keep calling them the Epstein class, but I want people to know that I'm talking about just rich, wealthy people who have very deviant behaviors, and they have things they want to hide. And putting in a black woman in this case, because this was Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, and these were the results, that it would not serve them well to have a black woman in there. And after Trump, who has gone haywire, they couldn't afford it. So you've got white men, right? 74% voted for Trump, and white women, 69%.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is why they would never, never say anything to these white men about what's going on in the Epstein files. They know what's happening.
It is about the voters. It is about the voters.
Yeah.
So if they don't say anything to these men, what does that say? Not so much about the men who are perpetuating this deviancy from one decade to the next, actually from century to century, because we know this has been happening way back in the day with black women. So what does that say about the voters who are knowledgeable about it, and they are still voting at these numbers, right? So black men and black women at 81 and 90%, the highest voting average out of everybody. What does that say about their understanding of what is going on in America? The understanding enough to know that Trump and probably the billionaire class is bad news for us. We know these things. How do we know it? We pass it down from one generation to the next.
Yep.
Right? And we're
Yeah.
moving toward a more just society. That group right there in that middle, Black men and Black women, are the defenders of democracy. There would be no democracy without the fight of our ancestors, right? And all we're doing, it's natural. We're fighting for democracy because it wasn't given to us. We have had to fight for it every step of the way. And then everybody else is trying to figure out, do I want to move toward white or toward Black? And they are somewhere caught in the middle because they know that Black in this country is bad and white is good. And I think there's a struggle. But the main two characters in this play are white people and Black people. Everybody else is just really the extras. And they have to decide which team they want to be on. And to me, this tells the story. I keep this very, very close at hand because I think this tells the story of America, and it will tell the story in the next election. And while the 92%, so to speak, is stepping back so that white America can see herself, themselves, we're going to be at the polls. We're going to be at the polls voting come November 3rd, 2026. Make no mistake. We don't need any commercials. We don't need all that stuff those billionaires are going to spit out. We already know what we're going to do. And the knowing is what is going to be key. Do we know what the assignment is?
Well, here again, and here's where I feel we will be put back into where we came out of 2008. We're voting once again to stop something, not anything for us. Because they haven't put together a plan that I'm aware of. So we still will be in a rock and a hard place.
We are, unless, okay.
Because we're too afraid to let the beating go on for 4 more years.
Right.
The beating at the country and the whole system. Because if we don't burn it down, we're going to go back to where it was, and where it wasn't working for us. It's not it's not even working for them, apparently.
But it's not working for them.
They want to take it back to where they believe it was working for them.
It was never working for them.
Well, they tend to think, white men tend to think it was working better for them in the 50s, in the 40s. So that's where they want to go back to. And we saying it isn't even working for us now. So where do that leave us? Do we save democracy, and how would that benefit us?
I don't know that we save democracy. I was giving this some thought. Maybe it was this morning while I was driving to go pick up the kids. I was thinking, and this is Albert in my head. Albert is really good at what he does, by the way.
He stays in our head.
I know. He's really good at what he does. I was watching him on a recent consultation, and he was coaching the person, but he was coaching me too. It was like, dang, that is good advice, you know?
It was amazing.
Yeah, I haven't practiced any of it tonight, but definitely, Albert, I heard you. But for the most part, I think, I think, I was thinking about Orange is the New Black. Remember that movie? No. Mm-hmm. What is it? Red is the New Black. I used to wear little black dresses all the time. Corporate America, you had to get little black dress for every other whatever. And then red became the color. And it's like, oh, red is the new black. Okay, I got some red dresses too. I'm telling you, you play the game. You play the game. It costs you money and you just play. But remember, you got to draw the line because at some point there's something that you just are not going to do. So I thought, you know what? Independence is the new alignment. Independence. We really need to, or independence is the new blue and red, or I don't know how you say it or how we would say it, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. It's like we're witnessing a measurable rise in voters that are registering as independent. Here in Tampa, in Hillsborough County, according to supervisor election, it's about a third, a third, a third, right?
Yes.
I think the Democrats are around 273,000. The Republicans are around 292,000, give or take on both. And then independents are around 217,000. Go look. That's what it is. Folks, both red and blue are going into what I call the new alignment. Now, doesn't mean everybody independent is going to be aligned, because a lot of those Republicans don't like Trump and they went into independent, but they're not necessarily aligned with Black independents or independents in general that are attached to Republican. But you're seeing more and more people move out of that two-party system, so much so that at some point, I don't know, but maybe you should be thinking about making that move, folks. I'm just asking. I'm just saying.
I'd say for America, you know, we're celebrating 250 year anniversary right now.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday, America.
Yeah, 250 years. And if we want to celebrate another 250 years, we're all going to have to meet in the middle. It is how it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be a country where it is what was designed, a melting pot.
You keep saying melting
Otherwise,
pot. No.
Otherwise, you will have to go back to your country. Because America, see, white people think, Europeans think America belongs to them, but it don't. And people aren't going to allow it to. I heard something, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit. We're gonna do a little vision board on Wednesday with multiple things we're gonna be talking about, because I heard this white pastor, and I'm really with these pastors and this Epstein file and everything where they're trying to take America, because we already know how we need to vote. That's just the bottom line. Now, what we have to figure out is which candidate to put in there. We have to make sure it's not someone that has already been bought and paid for.
Correct.
That's the only decision we have to make.
Right.
So therefore, we have to do our research and making sure that whoever we pick is bought and paid for by the people and not the corporation.
Right. So you're saying we need to absolutely look at the individual politician, not so much the party?
Yeah, because we already know we got to vote Democrat. We know we got to vote Democrat. I mean, I hate it, but we have to do it.
But who is a strong enough Democrat to sort of upset the current status quo?
And I'm talking about here locally, when you look at District 3, when we look at District 5, when we look at the judges, even when we look at our governor, our next governor, and everything that's coming down, we have to really do the research on these candidates.
But not everybody right now. Yes, we all realize, and I think you're right, we all, Black independents or Black Democrats, know we got to vote. Okay, I think we all agree on that. And here's what I think we need to do in addition to that. We also need to look at our circle. Like my family, and I tell Mona this all the time because we're not all on the same page. My brother, there's 7 of us, and we have a text thread that has gone on for years. And sometimes we have some pretty heavy conversations where we're just not talking to each other. And somebody will just kind of drop off for a while, and we'd have to go find them and put them back in and whatever else, because feelings get hurt, even in families. And generally, it's around the political conversations. And while there's 7 of us, 2 of them are of the conservative thought pattern, and one even expressing they like Trump, which is crazy to me.
Do you think they say stuff like that to pitch? Because listen,
No, these are my family is pretty serious about what they say, and they're not trying to just make you mad, but they don't want because I do a lot of posting, and sometimes I'll have to like back off my family because they some of them get really upset with them. But on occasion, there's sometimes I have to put something in because, and this is the point of my whole conversation, is we have to have the hard conversations with the people we love and the people who are around us. And I think that I am right, but I also know that maybe not. And I have shifted how I feel, because she'll say, you guys think the Democrats, and it's like, but Doris, oops, I said her name. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat because I agree with you on some of your positions on the Democrats don't do this and don't do that, what have you. But I'm also not going way on that side because they are harmful to Black folks, right?
yeah, we know what they're about. Listen,
Right.
I don't
So,
know.
but the conversations have to happen even with those that are in your circle that do not necessarily agree, but at least there's a level of trust there that the conversations can be had in love. Now, I say that with the full understanding that that Texas father shot his daughter. Did you
Wasn't that
hear?
crazy? Yeah, wasn't that crazy?
So I say that with,
I
I don't know.
She
I'm
simply
talking about Black families. We won't do that, but
yeah,
that was.
we're not going to do that. Now,
But anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know if my family is just a little strange because literally we have a group text as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's me, my brother, my sister, and then all of the kids because they're all adults now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever had a drive down fight over anything.
We have.
And particularly politics. Now, they don't particularly like when I switched up, but they do see it my way sometimes. Particularly my sister. Now, my brother is the hardest, and he'll say stuff like he reminds me more of Rodney Jones. Okay. Um, and then he say stuff like, Mona, this is the truth. I say, no, that's your truth. This is my truth. Now, at the end of the day,
Mona, you have said some things even with my family. Remember when we were at the pharmacy?
yeah,
And we were around the fire.
yeah.
You came in talking, and my family said, "Who is she? She's not like she's not is she Republican?" They were like asking like, "Who is she?" And I said, "That's my really good friend Mo." They weren't even on the same page, and I says, "She talks like that, but she's really good people, and she's not Republican, but she's a conservative Democrat."
Yeah.
They didn't know what that was. But yeah,
I'm
right.
I'm sick of giving a Democrat just pass because we've done that, and I've moved on from there. But in the last election, we knew we had to vote Democrat, which I had to do it literally holding my nose because I did not want to vote. Yeah,
You did,
but
and
I,
I
but
appreciate
I
it.
understood Project 2025, and I knew the significance of it, and the same thing here. So I got to do it one more time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did do that, and I appreciated your doing that because I knew you understood the assignment. That's right. I did.
But
Um,
what we're gonna talk what we're gonna talk about on Wednesday, and the video I'm gonna pull up on Wednesday. Well, I'm gonna explain. This is why I couldn't, and for people like that woman. So
for
we'll
people
talk
like
about
what?
that.
Say that last part again.
People like the woman that's in the video, why I could never vote Democrat again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But to the listening, independence, being independent is not being neutral. That does not mean you are neutral. One little
Yeah.
girl today, she kept saying she had to work alone during selling the honey. So she had to stop people. And she's like all of maybe 4 feet tall and really, really skinny. She's actually a third grader. They just promoted to the fourth grade. She is that
Oh wow,
bright. And
she's
she
smart.
was saying to the other little boy, I am INDEPENDNT. And I was like, what? And the boy just couldn't. And then
Yeah,
I figured it out. It's like, oh, your mom taught you that you're independent. And that became
right.
our word today, that she is independent. She doesn't follow. She's such a smart kid. She does not follow the other kids, but you can tell they respect her. And these are fourth graders that she's around, right? And she's the third grader that got promoted a month ago to be in fourth grade. And she is
Wow.
as smart, if not smarter, than they are. Because we do math. It's life lessons, but they're doing math and they're figuring and solving problems when they're back there in the honey stand. We don't
Right.
just tell them things, they have to solve the problem. Well, what do
Yeah.
you think we ought to do? This little girl is not neutral, and I'm trying to make the point. She's very opinionated and she knows what she wants and what she wants to do. But she's very soft-spoken, right? So you might think she's a little meek, but she is not. She's strong. And I think that people are kind of thinking independent is sort of this nondescript way of being in the political party, but it's not. It's not a neutral party. It is not a weak party, so to speak. And I don't want to call it a party, but it's a group of people that are taking a stand against loyalty to ideals that really don't fit,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. That's
That's
it.
strength.
Absolutely.
That is strength. That is walking in your own right. Right? And finding those people that actually align with you. Independence is the new black, is the new alignment. Finding those people that actually align with you. I keep looking over there because Moses is like mad and he starts huffing, which means he's going to bark in a few minutes. There it is. Dog is
He heard
11
it.
years.
He heard it.
I'm not going to be able to make this point because he's trying to make me nervous. So can you talk? Because I'm going to go put him in a room somewhere. Hey, no.
So my point, when I decided to leave the Democratic Party, I did so because I had met a Republican, and this Republican, it's a moderate Republican, but so in line, and everyone says no, we can't vote for this Republican because it's a Republican, and I was like, yeah, but it lined up with what I believe, it lined up with my morals, it lined up with political and everything that I wanted in a candidate. That Republican at that time lined up, and I said, I'm gonna remove myself from the Democratic Party and become an independent, and I want to vote for the best candidate.
Yeah.
And that's how I started. And I had already had decided that in 2016, I did not want to vote for Hillary. I knew I didn't want to vote for Hillary. Now, of course, I didn't vote for Trump. And people said, my brother, well, if you don't vote for her, in extension, you are voting for Trump. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, because that is some lines, as you said.
I was on your brother's side. 2016, I
I
was
just
with
could
my brother.
I just could not cross it because of what her husband, she had done, all of this stuff that got us where we're at today, still where we at. Now they believe we have had some significant gains. I simply believe we did not. Am I allowed to have my belief as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't think you were allowed.
Yeah.
I do think so now, though. I do think so now. But at the time, I was like, "Girl, I was with Joe, your brother. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What are you doing?"
I can do it. I voted down ballot. And even when I went in there, and it's so funny because this is just how my morals line up. Because when I went in there, I said I was going to do it. I was going to vote for it. I was just going to vote for it. What's the difference? And I got there and I remember it plain as day. I still have the thing. I took a picture of it. And I said, I put the pen there and I was like, yeah, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yeah. The thing about independent voters, though, those who vote the way that you just said that you voted in 2016, they decide close races one way or the other, winning or losing. They decide. And I think they should be taken seriously. And I don't think that the country really does. Because it's becoming more so, at least in Hillsborough County, but I think you're going to start seeing that on a national scale, 30, 30, 30. We're going to, in some of the key states, that do become more swing. But they swing the midterms. They determine committee chairs. They determine which bills move forward, including federal voting legislation, which is one of the reasons why we don't have good voting laws in place anymore that protect voters. So if turnout drops among independents, incumbents benefit. So think about that. If Florida or Hillsborough County doesn't really take care of its independent voters, Democrats, you can bet that incumbents will maintain seats. You need your independent voters who are leaving your parties.
So one of my biggest issues in this last race, that data you just showed, where blacks overwhelmingly supported Harris, but all we hear from our black leaders, the Black Caucus, people like Roland Martin, about the 80 or 90 million people who didn't vote. And we know that those was not all black voters. All we hear about is the black people who didn't vote. You hear no other race talk about they group, why they voted Republican or why they didn't vote at all. I don't hear that anywhere. Do you?
No.
They want to carry the heavy load, but yet we don't benefit. And that's what I was getting pissed about. They want us to carry the heavy load, but they could get what they want, but we get, and I can't say nothing because when they say, you trying to tell me we didn't get anything? Okay, we didn't get enough. We didn't get what we wanted. We didn't get what we needed.
But everything was framed from a white perspective, a white voter perspective for years, where 48% of white 48% of the white voting electorate vote Republican, and 42% of the white voting electorate vote Democrat, which meant the Democrats needed to find 8 to 10% from somewhere else. They were not going to, and so they looked to black voters to make up that difference. And if we were only going to be around 6 or 7%, that was not going to be enough. So they came into our neighborhoods trying to get more of us to vote, which meant the Republicans on the flip side of that said, oh, no, you won't. And they started doing voter suppression crap to make sure that the 42% of the white electorate could not make up the difference in the voting shortage below 50% or 50+%. So it's a game they've been playing for a long time from a white perspective. The base was the 48 and the 42. Now, what are you going to do so you get your 2% or 3%, let's say, and you get your Jeanette, 10%. So, and I never thought about that. And then a few years ago, it was like, oh, they absolutely need us, but they have a bigger deficit to make up, huh?
Do we hear the Democratic Party beating up the Hispanic community that left the Democratic Party to go to the Republican Party?
Yeah.
Do we hear them beating them up, or do we hear them saying, what can we do to get them back?
Yeah, they don't beat them up. That's true. They don't beat them up because
they expect us to stay and get nothing.
Yeah. I think, and a lot of this is my opinion, folks, but I think the Hispanics all of a sudden started growing. The numbers started really growing, and then they realized, and then they started voting, right? They were becoming legal, especially with DACA coming and this pathway to citizenship. They started growing in numbers. Then they became a focus, I think. They became a focus over time, but the approach was not, as you said, where they get called out of their names because they're not voting and blamed for lost elections. That relationship had been long-standing between Black and white. Hispanics came in later, and then they had to start nurturing them rather than pushing and blaming and demonizing them for not voting. So whole different relationship. Black folks, my racial hierarchy, white folks at the top, Black people at the bottom, and everybody in between is jockeying for position away from Black to get to the top. Now I call the top the Epstein list is at the top. But so I just want to make note of before we got about 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes. There's a rumor out there, right? Voters, you got to know what's likely and what may not be likely, suggesting that a president could declare martial law in order to suspend and cancel elections. So there is some thought that, and he has tossed this around because, Trump is the agent of chaos, and he knows that, and we've always known that presidents had to be careful what they say, right? They can start wars just with whatever. Trump has been very careless with this, with what he says, and he does it on purpose to either impact the stock market or to just make people so unsettled that they give him what they want. He knows the power of his words. So he has suggested that he might declare martial law to suspend or cancel elections, or there's rumor out there that he has. It is important to address this carefully and factually. We need to, Black independents, Black Democrats, white independents, we need to be careful and factually look at, instead of just saying, oh no, the sky is falling. Under the US Constitution, and I looked this up, ChatGPT said, hey, let me help you with that. So I said, sure. Federal election dates are set by Congress. Now, you might say Congress is a do-nothing Congress right now. Nobody believes Congress is going to do anything. States administer the elections. Well, he's trying to take over what they're doing in the states, you might say. All right. A president does not have unilateral authority to cancel or postpone midterm elections, period. Even under a declaration of emergency or martial law. Now, the martial law, I happen to think he was ready to call when we got out in those streets. Every time we did get out in the streets on some level, we were the ones that got arrested out there. Have you noticed that? And these journalists that just got arrested in Don Lemon and crew got arrested.
Yeah.
Not the other journalists, but those did. We have to be careful.
Right.
Martial law is something that is in the heritage. What is it? Project 2025. They want to declare martial law to suspend the elections, but we're not giving that to them. And that's really, really pissing them off. So under the declaration of emergency or martial law, constitutional limits still apply. Courts remain operational. Congress retains its authority, although it is a do-nothing Congress. Federal election law does not automatically disappear because of an executive declaration. He is claiming he has more power than he actually has. Historically, even in the Civil War and the World War II, federal elections were still conducted. Lincoln got elected into his second term during the Civil War. He thought he was going to lose, but he won. That does not mean voters should be complacent, though, because you never know what can happen. What can happen is structural influence through legislation, litigation, redistricting, administrative rule changes, and voter eligibility requirements. And that is where their efforts are. They are trying to legislate new laws that make it harder for you to vote. There's a lot of litigation that's going to go on about black voting elections and what's going on in Fulton County, right? There are going to be a lot of shenanigans around voting and the laws and redistricting. You've heard about that. That is happening right now, and the courts are dealing with that. So we can't be complacent, but you can bet there will be an election, and they are going to try to influence it by suppressing your vote. Women, you're the target. Black people, you are definitely the target, right? So
I have a question about that. Save Ike, right? Because we've been dealing with this for a while. And I can remember it's always, in my opinion, the Democrats like to do a lot of fear tactics to get you to vote. And this should have been taken care of a long time ago. Now, and I have this disagreement with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that you have to have some type of ID, picture ID, to vote. Who could go vote without showing? Where can I just assume everybody had to have picture ID. You don't have to have a driver's license. Now, I don't think you need to have a passport either. And if that's the case, with all the money that these people spend, then just give everybody a passport. Even when they were saying this, why can't we give everyone a picture ID when you register to vote? Because Jeanette, how is any adult find alcohol, cigarettes? Do you know you have to show your driver's license? Even me, when you're buying cigarettes now,
Yeah,
at
but
62.
I don't think driver's license is enough because everybody can get a driver's license. Okay.
You can have a driver's license for U.S. citizen versus green card or something. You can, if that wanted to be a difference, they could have done this way under the Democratic president 2 terms ago under Obama, because it was the same issue then, and under Biden, okay? I don't want to talk about these kind of things because to me, this just doesn't make sense. So what do you show when you go and vote? Don't you show your ID?
Yeah, I show my driver's license. I don't show my passport. I don't show my passport.
No. Of course you don't show your passport because
but what they're
you don't
looking
care. Most people don't carry these things around, but if they want to make sure that because these aren't things worth fighting. These are simply easy to solve. Because they can't suppress your vote. I don't believe they can suppress your vote. Let's get everybody some ID. Everybody should have ID.
So under the SAVE Act, and I'm listening to what you're saying because I think that Republicans are very cunning. I'm not saying they're smart.
They are, but we got to be smart.
I think they are very cunning in how they legislate and how they create bills and laws. They make the bills seem innocent. Well, of course, you need an ID. I agree with you. I'm not fighting that. But there's more to it. And the undergirding of those laws in the detail, the devil is in the details, as they say. And that's where they are trying to figure out, how do I make sure Black people, certain populations that I do not want to vote, get knocked out. That is the focus of this, what you say seem to be a very practical requirement, and that is to show voter ID. So the SAVE Act, Save America Act, listen to the title, Save America Act. Give me a break.
They all on this America stuff.
The only people who have saved America through the years are Black folks. And if you want to call it democracy, we are the ones. If it were not for us, there would be no democracy in America today, right? They did not want to give those rights to us, nor did they want to give those rights to women, nor did they want to let immigrants, a lot of these immigrants, come into the country. Black folks stood up, and now and so democracy had to be upheld. You can't say that you are something that you are not doing. And we pushed for that. Not white people, Black people did. So the Save America Act, if it's enacted, it would require documentary proof of citizenship. Okay. Such as a passport or certified birth certificate. Nowhere in there says a driver's license, right? Right? To register to vote in federal elections, and that is to register to vote, right? So when I register, I have to show a passport or a birth certificate.
Okay.
So far, you don't have a problem with that. You don't have a problem with that.
Because
all right, so I will say,
hold on, let's take it one by one. Let's take it one by one. We can't take it one by one. But when you're registering to vote, you're 18. You have your birth certificate.
Okay, but 18, I did not have my birth certificate when I was in corporate America. I said, well, dang, I needed to do something. I needed to get my passport or something because I was traveling and I had to travel a lot. And I went to say, hey, Mom, where's my birth certificate? She couldn't find it.
You will go to the health department and get
I wasn't born in Florida. I was born in Watertown. I was born in Watertown, New York, right?
Okay, so you can call up there, you can request it.
Right. So eventually I went and got it. But look, I'm in corporate America. Eventually, there are a lot of folks that are voters that will not take the time to do what it took for me to get it. And it wasn't as easy as you are trying to allude to, but for the most part, they are counting on people saying, forget that. Never
Yes.
mind. Or I'll do
Yes.
it later.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
counting on these things,
And I'm
right?
not
So I
disagreeing with
didn't
that.
have my birth certificate handy, but I had to get it because I needed to get the passport so I can do whatever
You
it is.
should have it anyway. You should have it anyway because you're gonna have your birth certificate, get a passport. You need your birth certificate.
Mona,
Your
don't
mother
yell
didn't give you your goddamn birth certificate when you got 18.
Mona, don't yell at me. I got it. My mother has traditionally kept everybody's everything, but for some reason, my birth certificate was not present in the family stuff. All right.
So when you went to
So
college, when you have to have your birth certificate when you register for college?
But I don't think so. I don't think I needed that. So, well, everybody registers for college, people from outside of the country. So I don't think it's necessary for that. So it would tighten verification standards and could limit certain forms of registration that many voters rely on, right? If they do that. And there are older women, let's say in their 80s and 90s, who want to vote that may have been born in a house somewhere, right? And never really had to have the birth certificate and may not ever have traveled out of the country. So they never had to have a passport. And all of a sudden now they've got to scramble to get one. And not everybody's you, Mona. And I have to say this to my mother all the time. She says, well, why can't they do whatever like you do? And I said, because they're not you. That's your perspective. That's your lived experience. It's not theirs. And the Republicans know this. They know this. That it will create a hardship for, I'm going to say, hundreds of thousands of people. And in some cases, that's all they need, especially in the South, which is probably where it is most rampant. On the surface, it's framed as election security, but practically it means this. Voters may need physical documentation they do not currently have in hand. Name mismatches, especially for married women, could create complications. And that is, a birth certificate says Jones, but I got married and now my passport says something else. Not my passport, but my driver's license says something else, and the two don't match. Sorry, no voting for you, right? Naturalized citizens may face additional verification hurdles. Online or streamlined registration processes could be restricted. Whether you support the bill or oppose it, one thing is clear, right? This ain't me talking. This is ChatGPT said. The word ahead of the midterms, the work ahead in the midterms just became more procedural. Preparation now matters more than rhetoric later. If documentation becomes the gatekeeper, guess what, folks? The organization becomes the response. And that then organization becomes the response, which means my family, my circle, I need to make sure they have what they need to go vote. I don't care who you're voting for. I need to make sure they have what they need.
I just had to go get my passport because so your passport has to line up with your birth certificate, correct? Is that what you said?
Your passport is your if you have your passport, that's what you need. That's all you need.
But I'm just saying.
If you're going to use your birth certificate, you now need a second ID, and that needs to match your birth certificate.
But why? Okay. So
I'm an independent. I'm not Republican. I can't answer.
Do I need my birth certificate to get a passport?
Oh, dang, girl. We got to close. We should have closed. Okay. We got to close right now because it's at 1:58:27. You guys, we got going there. But we're going to have to close, and we appreciate your being with us tonight. What did you say? We'll continue?
We'll continue the Savite, yes.
Yeah, we'll probably look at that a lot more close because we got to get ourselves ready to be voters. It's 1:58:50, and I'm going to end the stream now. Bye, everyone. See you on Wednesday. Mona's got something good planned.
Good night.
Good night.